explaining the Key Stage 3 writing mark scheme. So today we're going to look about how a Year 7 or Year 8 piece of writing might be assessed by their teacher. And you may be presented with a writing task that looks something like this, obviously in target language, either French, Spanish or German. And you would typically see 4 bullet points and then the task itself. So for this one, my first bullet point says a description of yourself. Bullet point 2, school subjects, likes and dislikes. Third bullet point, hobbies, likes and dislikes. And then finally, ideal pet. And under assessment conditions in class, you would be given a rough 25-30 minutes to write an extended piece of writing that answers all 4 of those bullet points. So once you've written your extended piece of writing, that would be then handed in and marked by your teacher. So I'm going to show you now how your marks would be awarded. So there are 2 parts to the mark. There is a content mark, which is always out of 10. And then there is a quality of language mark, which I will explain shortly. So as you can see, the content mark is split into 5 bands. And those bands are split between 2 or 3 marks each. And the teacher will use their professional judgment to decide whereabouts in each band your mark should be awarded. And if we have a quick look at the language in each band, we can see how your writing would meet the criteria. So starting at the bottom, for 1 or 2 marks, a limited response, communication is often not clear. So this may be that you have only answered 1 of the bullet points and that your sentences don't fully make sense. There are verbs missing, there are articles missing, and many spelling mistakes. Then you've got the next band up, so for 3 or 4 marks, a basic response covering some aspects of the task. Communication is sometimes clear, but the message does break down. So here you may have attempted to answer 1 or 2 of the bullet points, but again, some of your sentences do not fully make sense, or your teacher has to work quite hard to unpick what you have written and try and work out what it is that you're trying to say. It may be that you have written something for each of the bullet points, but that those sentences are quite unclear and there are many errors in them that actually stop your teacher from understanding what it is you were trying to communicate. The next band up is for 5 or 6 marks, and here almost all bullet points are covered. Communication is generally clear, enough information is conveyed. So here we're getting to somebody who has written quite a nice piece of writing. There is a good paragraph or more in the target language, but maybe they've missed off 1 bullet point. So you can see that almost all bullet points are covered. So perhaps they've just missed off 1 of them. This could be because they ran out of time, and often this is the case, especially with our Year 7s and 8s, where time management during assessments is one of those skills that they're still learning. You are still learning. Moving up to the next band up for 7 or 8 marks. Response covers all bullet points, communication is mostly clear, quite a lot of information is conveyed. So again here we've got a good piece of writing. This is something that your teacher will enjoy reading. There's lots of content in there, lots of variety, perhaps only a few sentences where it's not quite clear what you're trying to say, or perhaps the verb endings are a bit off, but really your teacher understands what you've tried to say, and it's a nice piece of writing. And then moving up to those top marks, 9 or 10 marks there available. If your response covers all bullet points clearly, a lot of information is conveyed. So this is somebody who's really grabbed each bullet point and expanded it as much as they can, giving multiple examples with very few mistakes, and really tried to expand on their ideas as much as possible. So this is how your content part of your mark would be awarded. And you may see that when your teacher gives you your piece of writing back, they've abbreviated that to a little C and then a mark out of 10 underneath. Next we come to the quality of language mark, and this is a scale between 1 and 18. Typically in Year 7 you will not see a mark for quality of language higher than 12. And if you look on the right hand side, you can see the little clue as to what we expect from your writing. So single words, short sentences, short paragraphs, and then moving into that paragraph using 1/10. So in Year 7, we are expecting by the end of Year 7 you are able to confidently write paragraphs using 1/10. We may have introduced you to another tense, but at this stage, our expectation is that you should be soundly comfortable writing paragraphs using 1/10. So you can see that scale between 1 and 12. And again, the mark that you would be awarded, you may see it abbreviated to a Q mark, would be between 1 and 12. And then right up at the top, number 1, single words are recognisable, frequent mistakes in spelling or accents. So this is almost like lists, I suppose. If somebody was asked to talk about their family, they've simply just listed the members of the family, but with lots of mistakes. Where we see marks moving into the 4, 5 or 6 band, it's where sentences are being attempted and there is attempts at a verb. Moving into the 7, 8 and 9 band is where we start to see opinions, and your teacher will be constantly asking you to give opinions, and make sure you give lots of opinions in your writing, because that's where you get awarded those higher marks. Moving into the 10, 11, 12 band, this is where we're really starting to see those ideas being developed. So linking our opinions with reasons and giving positive and negative points of view. And really more complex is when you can actually start talking about somebody else and saying what somebody else thinks. So that's for Year 7. For Year 8, we would be moving into the 13, 14, 15 band, and then eventually the 16, 17, 18 band, and that is because we are introducing tenses. Here is an example of a writing task that might be presented to a pupil in Year 8. And again, this would be in target language, but you might see a bullet point saying your town opinion, bullet point 2, activities in town, bullet point 3, a recent visit, and then bullet point 4, ideal town. So we can see from bullet point 1 that we are being asked here to give opinions, and as I explained a few moments ago, that those opinions really need to be developed, and you really need to be giving positive and negative points of view with reasons to get those highest marks. If you look at bullet point 3, it says a recent visit. This should be your clue that you are being asked to write in a different tense, in the past tense. So here is where you will be awarded marks if you are able to successfully write in the past tense. And then finally, bullet point 4, it says ideal town. Here is where we can use the conditional tense to say what we would like. And by Year 8, this is language that has been taught across the language to say something that you would like. For example, you would like a town with an ice rink, or you would like a town with a swimming pool. Maybe you have your own ideas on that. But essentially the idea behind the bullet point is to allow you to use that different tense, use that third tense, and to attract those higher marks. Going back to our quality of language mark scheme and moving down to the bottom to the paragraphs using 2 tenses and using 3 tenses, we can see what is needed to enable us to be awarded those marks. So looking at 13 marks, produces extended text, a recognisable attempt at using 2 tenses, minimum 3 different accurate examples of the second tense. So we would be really expecting it at this level that a pupil is able to give 3 different verbs in the past tense. It might only be in the first person, it might only be I went, I visited, I ate, but that would be acceptable. For 14 marks, we need to start seeing some sequences. So this is you telling us a story in the past, saying things like first I did that, then I did that, later I did that, and finally I did that. So using those sequencing words to really start to narrate your story. And for 15 marks, you may at this point start referring to other people, so saying what he or she did or what he or she liked. Moving up into the paragraphs using 3 tenses, this is that highest band, and really by the end of year 8 we are hoping that pupils are starting to more confidently use the 3 tenses, and really it's a prerequisite moving into year 9 that we've got some confidence with 3 tenses. So for 16 marks we're looking for 3 different verbs in the 3rd tense. So if you say something like I am going to go to town, I would like to go to the cinema, I am going to eat popcorn, we've got 3 different verbs there. For 17 marks, we need more development, maybe asking some questions. It could be that you are writing your piece of writing as a pen pal letter, in which case can you ask some questions back to your reader. Do you like your town? Do you like your family? Where did you go last week, etc. And a much wider range of verbs as well, so not just sticking to the same few verbs all the time, but really showing quite a few different examples. And then finally, for the top mark, you can see there, coherent and detailed. This is somebody who is able to write a really good piece of writing that flows, there's structure to it, it doesn't jump about, it's got a nice fluid feel to it, the ideas are developed, and there's very only minor errors in some of the most sort of ambitious language, the more complex structures. 3 tenses are secure and reference to other people, so again, not only saying I would like to live in the countryside, but my parents would like to live in France, for example. And a really wide range of verbs and descriptive language, so really kind of just building that vocabulary and broadening and widening our choice of verbs and adjectives, and some more complex structures as well. So that is how you would achieve those highest marks. And as I say, when you get your mark back, your teacher would typically split it between a C and a Q, so you can really see which part of your mark is where you are attracting the highest scores. I hope that's been helpful, and now next time you do an extended piece of writing, you will understand more fully how your mark has been awarded.